Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to IGN's News, Games, and More, the show where we talk about all of those things. Today is October 28th. I had to check. I don't know what day it is most of the time, and I'm sure a lot of you don't. I'm joined by some people who probably also don't know what day of the week it is. Brian Altano, Casey DeFritas, and Seth Macy.
Oh,
What's going on, everybody? How's it
I
going?
thought I thought it was is it Tu I thought it was Tuesday for a second. It's Wednesday.
No, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, man.
I thought it was a
Um,
Thursday. I really haven't been doing great with this whole thing, but the important thing is, regardless of what day of the week it is, a bunch of stuff happened, and we're going to be talking about it. Uh, Specifically, let's talk about the PlayStation Plus games got announced for November. This is always fun. People always get excited about that, unless it's disappointing stuff that they've already had for 3 years. In this case, it seems like a pretty good spread, I guess. Middle Earth: Shadow of War and Hollow Knight Void Heart Edition will both be available on November 3rd for PlayStation 4 players, and PlayStation 5 gets its first monthly PS Plus game with Bug Snacks, which a lot of us were expecting to be, a launch title in a physical box, which it still will be, or download or whatever. But yeah, this is great. I'm looking forward to it. How are you guys feeling about this?
I think it's a
Great.
great lineup. I'm stoked
Yeah.
about Bug Snacks being free because I was probably going to buy that game and now I don't have to. Yeah. Bug
Yeah,
Snacks.
opposite for me. I was not gonna buy that game, but now I'll totally play it. Like I did not. I'm gonna.
Mhm.
I'll get rocks thrown at me by like my friends in the industry, but like I don't get it so far.
Oh,
And like
see,
I
I
understand, I understand the memes and all that, and like that's got the song and stuff,
Yeah.
and then
That's
they
all
sing and they. But I was totally not gonna buy this game, but now
yeah,
I'll absolutely play
I'm splitting the difference. I'm gonna borrow it from a friend.
What?
All right,
it.
fair enough. Well, it's yeah. I mean,
I'm just
it's
kidding. Of
this
course I'm
is
gonna
this
play
is
it.
fun though. Like I was curious about it because it's by Young Horses, who did Octodad, which
Yeah.
is a wonderfully weird game, and those guys are all really cool. And I'm clearly they've been hard at work on it. It got announced alongside the PS5 launch lineup, which is cool. But yeah, I know it's not necessarily the kind of game that. I mean, I think it's also coming to PS4, but I don't think that's a PS Plus game for that, which is
It
sort
is.
of an interesting
Yeah,
gamble there.
that's
Hmm.
correct. It is rewarding people who get PS5s. It's also available. It will also be available for PC, but not free,
Oh,
obviously, because there's no PS Plus on PC.
hey, if you check out the homepage, we have a deal on PS Plus, like $34 for a year with like a special
Ooh.
IGN code. Yeah,
Dang,
Yeah,
don't pay
that's
full price.
that's
All
a
that's what
that's
right,
a
I'm
good
gonna
deal.
go
I
get
just paid that
that.
like a week or two ago, and it's very nice. What's cool about this too is they just announced Destruction All Stars as a PS Plus game for what is it, February next year?
Yeah.
And so that means that like right off the bat they're announcing a bunch of games directly to PS Plus for PS5, which is super cool. I honestly did not expect to see PS5 games anywhere near PS Plus at launch.
No,
Mm-mm.
no,
Yeah,
no
I mean,
way.
we originally, I think like headlined this episode like PlayStation 5's first PS Plus game, and it was like, wait, no, there's 23 and counting of those. There's the whole PlayStation Plus library. So that's kind of like crazy that they're just coming out the gate being like, oh, you want some free PS4 games? Here you go. They're a bunch of them are optimized to run better, and also here's Bug Snacks. Oh, and Destruction All Stars is coming around. Like like what did they get enough pre-orders that they're just like, you know what? Screw it. We'll give away some of our launch lineup. Just have them for
Yes.
free on the house.
The
I
answer
would
is yes.
Yeah, I would say A, yes, but B, I bet you some individual software didn't get enough pre-orders, and that's probably why it's going this route. I imagine Bug Snacks, like while it's like a cute thing on Twitter to like talk about, didn't actually translate, you know, do- dollars onto the store. Like I don't think a lot of people were like, I'm gonna pre-order that.
No,
Yeah.
I mean it's a weird indie game that was getting sort of AAA placement there, and I think it's gonna be interesting and cool, and I mean I hope it's a fun game. But yeah, I think the power to make people make weird memes and retweet stuff and make Bug Snacks jokes is not the same as being like, yeah, fork over $40 or $20 or however much it is. Um, but yeah,
But
so
yeah,
that is
the lineup shaping up and it's cool. I am bummed we don't know more about like the PS4 PS Plus collection lineup
w-
stuff.
we did get a little thing about that.
Ooh.
They said, let's see, Sony has
I love
also
a
once
little
again
thing.
confirmed that it's the Sony little thing. Its PlayStation Plus collection will be available with the launch of the PS5 and will give PlayStation Plus subscribers access to some of the best PS4 games with quote benefits such as increased loading speed and improved or more stable frame rates with PS5's Game Boost. So like, that's not
Oh,
exactly showing a side by side graphics comparison, but like I mean, if we get a silky smooth new like Bloodborne, running at a faster frame rate, or
Yeah, question, Max and Brian, like you guys are on the PlayStation show. Would you know? Do our save files also transfer over to the PS5?
it is.
Wow.
So
Little
yeah,
fly in the ointment there.
you know what? You're right. We are on the PlayStation show every week. That's a very
Mhm.
good point. And to answer your question, maybe sometimes,
Sometimes
of.
maybe.
Who knows?
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's this is why I've been very vocal about commending Microsoft when they just tweeted out this morning like they've got hundreds of hours of playtesting on backwards compatible games working there. There's all this cross save with the xCloud. You can play a game on your Series X and then pause it and pick it up on your One X and then pause it and pick it up on your phone. And like on PlayStation, you're like, players will enjoy playing Spider-Man again from the start. And I'm like, will we? I mean, we will because it's fun. I get it. But what if we,
Gosh, you're
what
right,
if we
they
want to?
said- Yeah, you're right. They said Spider-Man save data would not transfer over.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm specifically excited. Like, oh, Monster Hunter World on the PS5 with faster load times, and my PlayStation won't overheat and act as a space heater. Cool.
Mhm.
But if I don't get my, I don't know, 700 hours of save data, guess what's still going to be hooked up to my TV? The freaking
Yeah.
PS4. So,
Yeah. And
that's,
so
that's a weird one because I mean, isn't that like this is a stupid question. I'm not exactly asking this, but does that have a crossplay thing? Like, do you have an account for Monster Hunter, or is it a save file?
it's a save file. There's no crossplay. Like if I have my PlayStation save file for Monster Hunter, it does not work with Xbox or PC. It is stuck, and I cannot play with other people on other consoles either. So, but I
Yeah,
can upload it into the cloud and then download it on a different PlayStation 4. So I'm hoping that will also work
And-
with PS5.
and that's why this is frustrating on a case-by-case basis, because so far we've heard about the Spider-Man thing and a lot of people were like, oh, it's like a 15-20 hour game, like just play it again. And you're like, okay, yeah, and it's remastered. I get it. I know, I see what you're doing there. But like for people like you that got that deep into Monster Hunter, or like people like me that like platinum Bloodborne on like NG +4 or 5, like did all the chalice dungeons and everything, like that was like blood, sweat, and tears. Like and I love it, and I'll play that game again, like if it gets a boost mode or something like that. But like, I do not want to start that game from the very, very beginning with nothing.
So
I probably still will.
I think the logic is that PS4, and again, I'm basing this on nothing. It's a guess, but I think what it's going to be is like a PS4 game is a PS4 game, and a PS4 save file will work with a PS4 game, regardless of whether you're playing the PS4 game on a PS5 or a PS4.
That makes a lot
Right.
more sense. But
Whereas
okay,
Yeah,
a
so
PS5 game is a separate thing. So if you have a like anecdote, like let's say I start playing Yakuza Like a Dragon on PS4,
Mhm.
and I have that save file, and or maybe I'm playing the PS4 game on my PS5 because the PS5 version doesn't come out until next year or whatever, and then I get the upres PS5 version, that doesn't work because that's a PS4 save. That's like a .ps4 file or whatever. Like
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
That is probably 100% true. And there are
Yeah,
people
so-
in the chat saying like, yes, your saves will transfer as long as you're playing the PS4 version of that game. All right,
Yeah.
Spider-Man confused me. Thanks all
Yeah.
for the clarifications.
Spider-Man's the weird one because that's I don't want to get I get a mild headache every time I think about it, honestly.
That's
'cause
the
it-
PS5 version of Spider-Man. That's a different game that you already
PS5
beat
version
on
of the
PS4.
the remastered version of Spider-Man PS4.
Right.
Not Miles Morales.
Meanwhile, Xbox just has the smart delivery thing where it's just an Xbox game, however
Yeah.
the hell you're playing it on. You could be playing it on a smart fridge or whatever, and it's.
But
they're
do they
like,
have
it's fine.
Spider-Man?
No. Anyway,
Hey, could-
Anyway,
Sorry.
people were asking what the PS Plus games were, and that was Middle Earth Shadow of War, which is the Lord of the Rings game, Hollow Knight
Great game.
Void Heart Edition, which is the PS4 edition of Hollow Knight, and Bug Snacks, but for PS5 only.
Mhm.
there they are. So that's fun. And yeah, one of the comments I pulled from IGN is Pistols at Dawn said there was zero chance I was ever going to play that game, Bug Snacks, but free at launch? How can you get mad at that? And then there was this, it weirdly devolved at all these people being
Bug
like,
Snacks.
I did want to play Bug Snacks, but I didn't want anyone to know. Like they were like sort of being like, yeah, if you're just giving it to me, I'll get into Bug Snacks. All right,
Free
guys,
Bug
whatever.
Snacks, I'll eat that.
I don't know about you guys. I make a lot of like very stupid purchasing decisions the launch window, especially when there's not a lot of games. Like that's actually the best part about like all this like cross-play PS Plus collection, backwards compatibility stuff that both consoles are doing. They're kind of astroturfing the field a little bit with old games. Because I've been there for so many launches where they're just like 2 games at launch, and I'm like, oh, Bug Snacks, that looks like a great time.
No, it's like buying stuff on vacation. It's like fake. It's
Yeah.
like fake excitement money. You're like, wow, yeah, who doesn't need 4 coffee mugs and say palm trees on them or whatever? Like it's stupid, but
No,
I
it's
still
just
think
like
I have my. I was gonna say I still think I have my copy of Summoner for PS2 that I
yeah,
bought
no,
on launch day because I was like, oh, it's an RPG. It's not
I
a
bought
great one.
I bought like a Spider-Man. It was like a Spider-Man 2 the movie side-scrolling game that launched with the Nintendo DS. That was like polygonal and like barely 3D. And like all of his like flips and stuff were just huge buttons on the touchscreen on the bottom. And it's like, oh, you guys didn't even try to make this like a good game. But I was like, brand new Spider-Man game to go with Mario 64 and Pilot Wings or whatever they had.
Ridge
that's
Racer.
so funny.
To feel the magic.
Yeah, I was looking at the Xbox Series X lineup, and there's like there's a bunch of I guess like last gen games that are now sort of being re-released as Series X games, or they're getting smart delivery upgrades or whatever. I don't really know how that works. I guess there will be separate SKUs for Series X games, but one of them is this Warhammer game. It's like Warhammer Chaos Bane or something, and it's like an isometric Diablo like basically. And I was like, wow, that looks kind of cool. And I like Googled it, and I was like, that came out in 2019, and I did not even notice it. So I'm like, I guess that with ray tracing sounds dope. But I can totally imagine myself just being like being in a Best Buy and having like a cart full, like, I got the new console, I better get some games, and then like picking something up and being like, hell yeah, Warhammer, and then being like, this is a game from this is the better PC version from last
like,
year.
Casey and I are on Nintendo Voice Chat every single week, and usually Tom is on there, and like we're always just like talking about this awesome new indie, and Tom is like a time traveler who only traveled 1 year ahead. And he's like, oh, I come from the future where I played that on PC like in September.
Yeah, that is very funny. We're going to talk a bit about Nintendo stuff in a second, but first, some sad news. I guess maybe question mark. Halo Infinite project director Chris Lee has left the project after following delay that will see the next Halo game being released in 2021 instead of this holiday. And this came from Bloomberg News. It said Chris Lee remains, or let's see. They got a quote saying, I've stepped back from Infinite and I'm looking at future opportunities. I believe in the team and I'm confident they will deliver a great game. And now is a good time for me to step away. Meanwhile, Microsoft says Chris Lee remains a Microsoft employee. And while he has stepped back from Halo Infinite right now, we appreciate all he has done for the project to date. And then, yeah, this is not the first director to have departed. There was also creative director Tim Longo, who left 343 in 2019, and then lead producer Mary Olson. Yes, so now Halo veteran Joe Staten leads the single-player campaign development, and Pierre Hintz is leading multiplayer. I can see this as being, doom and gloom and very like a very frightening thing, and I can also totally see it as being weird inner political like contract stuff. Like they're not gonna like I think we equate what a director does in terms of like a movie or something, but in terms of a game, you've got like tons and tons of people working on this, and obviously you need someone to corral them. But I get the feeling, just sort of based on the Microsoft statement and the fact that he's like, I have to go do other stuff. I still work at Microsoft. I feel like they have him, scheduled for some next thing, and
yeah. I hadn't thought of that
like
actually.
His Halo Infinite meeting ran over, and
exactly. Yeah.
Definitely. I think that's totally a possibility. It also could be that he was like, I want to work on a different project because this is going to be more than I thought it would be. This is a game that was supposed to be out in 2 weeks and is very much not out in 2 weeks. And when we first saw it, there was like a sort of like entire spectrum of emotions, from people being like, that doesn't look great, to other people being like, this is the art style they're going with, and other people being like, they still have time to work on it, that old thing. But this got delayed sort of indefinitely. This isn't one of those like cyberpunk delays where it went 21 days down the road or something. This is the thing that I think is going back into the oven for at least a full year. And that's a long time to just keep your head down on a project that you've already had your head down on for so long. And also, you know, like we don't know what's holding this game back, and it could be like a real, you know, rat's nest underneath the hood, and maybe it needs a lot more work than it'll take. I trust that this game won't release until it's at a high quality, because that like
Mhm.
that's it,
Yeah.
this is one of the most important titles, and I don't see them putting out a bad game at all. But I also like, if I knew that something was almost done and then went from being like a year later, I'd be like, I don't know, do I want to be here for all this? This sounds like the really like not exactly the part where you really want to be directing anymore. Like, you know, this sounds like it's almost
Yeah,
in
or
post production.
maybe it was at the level that he was ready. He was like, "This is the game that we're ready to make," and then they were like, "No, we're actually going to go back and tweak a bunch of stuff, and we want it different." And he's like, That's not my specialty. Let's hand it over to
Right.
someone else." I mean, again, we're completely speculating here. We did get a fun comment here from Nonfiction7 on IGN, who said, "Good thing this game wasn't planned to be a launch title and advertised on the system's retail packaging," which is, uh, I don't know. Like I've always been kind of like Halo's a big blind spot for me. Like I've dabbled in it, and
Oh.
I like, it's got cool space lasers and it's trucks you can drive around. It's like there's
Yeah.
cool stuff in there, but like this one was, I always like perk up when they're like, this is a great jumping on point for first timers, or like newcomers to the series can find a great, it's like, cool, give me like a next gen Halo game. Like I'll jump in here and check it out and see if that's true. And yeah, I mean, this is a bummer,
Yeah, I was pretty stoked. I mean, even with that demo that everyone hated, it just when I was watching, I felt like the incredibly strong Halo vibes, and I was
Hmm.
getting very excited for Halo again, because Halo 3 was like one of the greatest gaming experiences of my. It was the first game that I played like multiplayer online all the time with my friend on our terrible like sub dial-up connections, and yeah, so I was really excited. The reason we're getting the reason my kids want to get a Series X for Christmas is because they love Halo too. In fact, they know everything about this damn game.
Well, I hope we get to see it sooner than later. Speaking of things that
Mm.
we're seeing very soon, or actually just kind of found out this morning were available now, Nintendo had their mini direct, and a bunch of stuff got announced and shown off and all that. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is not out until November 20th, but there is a free demo right now that a bunch of people are checking out, and they seem to be having a good old time with that. Have Casey, Brian, have either of you checked this out, Seth?
No.
My plan is to do it as soon as we're done with the show today.
Yeah, same. I have it downloaded. I did notice sort of anecdotally on Twitter that a bunch of people who were kind of like not necessarily like hyped for this game, but sort of whatever about it, played the demo and got like totally sold on it. So that's good to know. I mean, I've never really been big in these types of games, but Zelda as a franchise is one of my favorites. So it gets me to go places where I normally wouldn't, and I'm totally down to give it a shot. I'm glad they put a demo out for it.
I am too. I mean, I really like the original Hyrule Warriors. I really like Hyrule Warriors Deluxe Edition on the Switch as well. It's like, was that on the Switch? Like my
Yeah.
sense
Yeah.
of time is terrible now. But I really like that game. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was super well done. I mean, I'm a I guess a Fairweather Muso fan, so I kind of like Dynasty Warriors style games if they're done well. And Hyrule Warriors was one of the ones that was done extremely well, and they did a great job pulling inspiration from the Zelda series, and it looks like the Breath of the Wild version, Age of Calamity, is going to do that even better. Sorry to just like hype up this game, but I think it looks great. The original is great. This one should be even better than that. So
Well, at the very least, there's a demo, which is like
yeah,
that's
check it out.
awesome.
There you
Uh,
go.
Another thing that was kind of odd is Remedy's Control, which was IGN's Game of the Year last year, which is a phenomenal game. Is Ultimate Edition is available now on Nintendo Switch via the cloud, and
Whoa.
there's a demo for that, or a sort of trial version, which is mandatory if you want to buy it, because I think they need to sort of test whether or not people's internet can even handle this thing. Like we saw the Resident Evil 7 via the cloud. Was that a thing?
Yeah, it was Japan exclusive. It launched a couple months after the console versions of that game, and it was weird because it was on Switch, and we tried to play it from the IGN offices, and it just didn't really work well for us. And from what we heard from some players in Japan, it was kind of hit or miss too. But this is really good that it gives you the opportunity to do that. I would say that in any other year, this is like a weird move, but Nintendo Switch isn't as portable as it used to be now that we're mostly home, like Yeah, like we're not really traveling as much. I haven't been on an airplane all year. And so like this is a totally interesting thing to try out, assuming you're close enough to your router. But yeah, that's super cool because they want you to download it, they want you to start it up, and when you do, you have two options, which are basically performance or graphics. And run either one. It's you have a basically limited trial free run with the demo, and if it works for you and you want to play Control and you don't have any other way to play it, then yeah, give it a shot.
I mean, it's crazy to see Nintendo. I guess is it? It's not Nintendo proper. It's third parties trying this, which is
Yeah, yeah. Nintendo hasn't actually. I don't think Nintendo's done anything like this yet, right? Am I correct, Casey?
I don't think they have. I don't think they've dabbled in cloud gaming themselves.
Mm-mm.
it's interesting because this is one way to get next gen games on the Switch, which is in its weird sort of own half generation nebulous space hardware wise.
Yeah, I believe Hitman 3 was announced via the same way this morning, which is
That's right.
you
That's
know,
that's going to be coming on all other platforms on January 20th next year, and it will be coming to Switch via cloud, but there's no release date for that yet. But that's it seems like this is going to be something we maybe see more of, and it seems like people are. I don't want to say people are warming up to cloud gaming, but like I I I I think maybe the fact that everybody's doing a lot. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people are doing stuff over the internet. Like maybe it just seems like a little bit easier of a sell to be
like news and talk shows
yeah,
over the
like
internet.
talking to
Yeah.
other human beings, like visiting family. It's sort of I don't know, like um yeah, that's a it's curious to see. I'm very interested to see if we see more of that. I mean, it would be weird as hell if they were like, "Great news, everybody! Cyberpunk 2077 is running on the Switch thanks to the infinite power of the cloud." I don't know if
Oh
that'll
man.
ever happen, but who
I
knows?
mean, it
Yeah,
it totally feels like that could be a thing, right?
Mhm.
Like that's what's bizarre about this. Like everybody knows about cloud gaming, obviously, and like there's multiple concurrent companies competing for it. But on Switch, like it just
Right.
it just feels crazy that it's like like the two games I downloaded today were part-time UFO, which is like
I'm excited. I'm
a
excited for that.
yeah, it's like a quirky like crane game, Japanese style UFO crane machine game where you basically have to pick up blocks and throw them in. I believe it's a port of a 3DS game developed, I think, by HAL Laboratories, who did Kirby. And then Control, which was IGN's Game of the Year on like a bunch
weird.
of next
Yeah,
gen consoles.
weird move. One other one that you're very excited about, I know this, Brian, is we got to look at No More Heroes 3, which is coming sometime next year to Switch. But in the meantime, No More Heroes and No More Heroes 2 Desperate Struggle both got a wonderful available now on Switch. And my understanding is these are ports of the Wii versions, not the weird 360 PS3 ones that came out a few years after those, right?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure about that yet. If you're in the chat and you bought these, let us know. I haven't had a chance to yet. But yeah, from what I was reading online, it seemed like they run super smooth. I haven't gotten to test them, but I imagine you'll be able to do all the extremely phallic motion control stuff with the Joy-Con, because that's a thing, and I can't imagine Suda doing anything else. When he made No More Heroes, no, Travis Strikes Again on Switch, I believe a year ago. He had a lot of that stuff too, and the same thing with like the sounds coming through the speaker, like it was a phone. Like there's a lot of fun stuff like that. So yeah, I'm down with this. This is like one of my favorite like Wii era games. Both of them are super super cool. I have no idea how they hold up, but it's just like between this and like Resident Evil 4 and Saints Row 3 and a bunch of other like weird garbage I used to absolutely adore when I was younger, like having them all in one place on Switch, and Mario 64, of course, is just super cool. So I'm all for it.
No, it's great. And we got a bunch more Switch announcements. Bravely Default 2 got a release
Oh
date on
yes.
February 20th. Go ahead, Seth.
Oh, so excited. Finally.
You're just saying
I
that
love
because you're
Bravely
you're in the
Default.
game.
I am in the game. The lead character's name is Seth, and that rarely happens in video games. I'm just excited. This is all I love turn-based JRPGs, and every JRPG that has been recommended to me comes close, but it's not what I want, which is classic like Final Fantasy VI gameplay. And this series is about as close as you can get in a modern game, other than Octopath Traveler. But that's a whole different kind of thing because that's like intentionally old school. But I am so excited. I love the Bravely Default series. I'm glad I didn't sell my 3DS when I purged all my stuff because I might just go back and play it
Yeah,
because
Seth,
February 26th is forever.
do you have the collector's edition of the original Bravely Default?
No, I did not get the collector's edition. When that game came out, I was extremely broke. So I bought it used at GameStop.
So I have a wrapped, sealed collector's edition of Bravely Default. We should talk about it after the show.
Ooh.
Is that the one that does it have like a diorama in it?
I don't know. I never opened it.
No, that's the Octopath Traveler one.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
All right,
I get
all
those
right.
confused a lot.
Anyway, we also got a release date. Story of Seasons: Pioneers of Olive Town will be released
like-
on Nintendo Switch on March 23rd,
Those are
2021.
also lovely, lovely games. I think I reviewed like one of the last 3DS games that we reviewed was a Story of Seasons game, and I did it, and it was great.
Was that the one they rebranded Harvest Moon to?
Yeah, basically. I don't know if they
Okay,
rebranded it. People in the chat can tell me how stupid I am.
Well, there
for
was
not
one that
knowing
came out a
this.
couple months and years, who knows, of that was like, was it Story of Seasons and Gachamon, that like time traveling cat? did I dream this? Like,
What?
is that it? Is that
Anything's
story?
possible.
Okay, I'm looking this up.
They're cute, adorable
What am
little
I-
games. They're, completely inoffensive. They're fun. They're very addictive. Coming to Switch is
Doraemon.
like the perfect. Oh,
Doraemon
yes!
Story of Seasons, not Gachamon. Gachamon like fights aliens or something. Doraemon is that blue cat with no
Yeah.
ears.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a Story of Seasons for that. So, all right, we figured it out. We got to the bottom of it. A+ journalism all around, everybody.
I'll tell you the story of the seasons. It gets cold and then it gets hot again and then it starts all over. That's the story.
I'll tell you the story of
seasons.
Olive Town. When you're here, you're family. It's a cheat code that gives you infinite breadsticks and soup. Anyway, yeah, you mentioned part-time UFO, Brian, the Kirby Studio. That sounds really sweet. Have you had a chance to mess with it at all?
Yeah. I think you dig it. It's very goofy and kind of heartwarming. The game starts with a farmer being like, "Oh no, my truck exploded and my oranges are all over the highway, but my back hurts like hell." And a UFO shows up, and he's like, "I'll get them for you." And it's like, that's the weirdest way to start a video game.
Yeah, I was looking at this and I was like, this looks really appealing right now. Like, I've been, I don't know, horrifically depressed and worried about everything, and just like, I need like a nice game, and that sounds like a good one. So maybe I'll
Mhm.
check
That
that
will
out.
Put it down. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's Tropico 6 coming November 6th. If
That's
you want to
awesome.
play a game about being a totalitarian dictator. And then if you want to,
They're fun games.
yeah, and then if you want to,
That game did not look great on Switch, by the way.
Oh,
Mm.
bummer.
I kept waiting for the textures to pop in.
oh boy. And then there's Surviving the Aftermath, which is a like survive the apocalypse game where you build bases and stuff. That is coming in spring 2021, when I hope we're all surviving the aftermath still. Then there's Griftlands Nintendo Switch Edition, which is the deck building roguelite game that is coming next summer. And then yeah, that is all the stuff I think that they talked about in the direct. I saw some people in the comments were like kind of bummed about this. They were like, they want like a really big hefty, like AAA, capital N Nintendo.
Super Mario
Direct,
64 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man,
was like, I don't know.
I love this direct because I was like just kind of putzing around my kitchen at 7 a.m. like making breakfast for my kid, and I looked at my phone and they were like, "Oh, surprise mini partner direct." And I think that like they've done a really good job this year. They've had to actually of defining the sort of goalposts on these things. Casey knows what I'm talking about because there's constantly like people being like, "Oh, this is going to be the one where they reveal, Metroid 4 and Star Fox and Kirby
Getting married.
and
All the new
they're all
stuff.
getting married and it's free and it's out yesterday and you already beat it in your brain." Like people set their expectations really high, so they started being like, "It's mini and it's partners and we didn't tell you about it. It just exists and it's already over." And people are
Remember
like,
what were
"Oh,
those
cool."
the PlayStation State of Play or whatever?
Yep.
What happened to those?
It was I think they did 4 of them, and then they were like, "Oh, let's just do like PS5 like live streams or whatever."
Mhm.
Like they kind of, I guess they sort of use that format, but in a much more polished way. I was expecting to get those like every month to be like, here's what's new on
Yeah.
the PlayStation Store, but instead we don't get. I don't know. So I like that Nintendo's doing this. I think it's cool as hell to be like, I don't know, we all need little nice surprises. So for them to pop up and be like, "Great news, everybody! You can help a farmer pick up his oranges with your
Oh,
UFO. Available now." And why not? No one was
What I-
expecting that.
Yeah.
What I
no.
love is that they're all sort of like melted together in this weird tonal inconsistency where this guy comes out and he's just like, coming up next, the apocalypse has struck and disease is everywhere. But can you, a child, survive? And then they cut to this trailer and you're like, oh God, that was bleak. And then it like the blades go by and they're like, Kirby's back and he's hungrier than ever.
I love there's no segues whatsoever. Your favorite puffball is back.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
All right, so shifting gears back to Sony news, one weird question that some people with strange hats in their house have been asking is, how do I get my PlayStation VR to work with my PlayStation 5? And they said, well, you'll get a free adapter. And everyone else said, where? And they said, apparently you have to go on a support page and you have to prove that you have a PSVR headset by entering your serial number, which is hidden on the back. And then they will, you give them all your info and everything, and then they will supposedly send you a little plug that goes on your PS5. It allows you to use your PSVR with
Cool.
the
You
PS5.
know, that's nice. That's nice. They're giving those out for free. I
Yeah.
think it was a similar process to get those rubber grips for your Wiimotes when they realized that people were throwing Wiimotes.
Oh,
Throwing
that's
them through their
right.
plasma screens.
Yeah, free
Yeah.
Wii sleeves for everyone. And
Same with the Mario Party glove too, from when you played that mini game so hard that it drilled a hole in your hand.
I wish they could for that.
So
That was a real thing.
Wait,
the
no,
thing
it
that's weird
wasn't.
about this,
No,
have a-
Casey, it totally was. You don't know about this? The Mario Party glove?
No.
Yeah, Google Mario Party glove.
They call
This
it
is a real thing.
the Mario
true?
Party stigmata.
I remember they had to recall the special edition of Punch Out for Wii because the what is it, King Hippo boxer shorts had like carcinogenic paint on them or something.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is a real thing. Nintendo has agreed to provide protective sports gloves to owners of the Mario Party game after receiving numerous reports of children being injured playing the game.
No.
One kid got a tetanus shot, said Christy Pritchard, a
Oh my
spokeswoman for
God.
New York Attorney General Elliot Spitz.
What, he had a rusty Wiimote?
So there was this one game where you basically had to palm the joystick
Yeah.
and rotate it like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And kids, it would just straight up
That's great
drill a
that-
hole through your hand. And so all these parents were complaining, and they had this phone number you could call, and they would mail you a sports glove.
Your kids' hands are too baby. Get them, put some weights
Yeah,
in their
toughen them up. Get them out on the farm.
Yeah, man.
Baling some
feel-
hay.
Make them go on the
I'm-
monkey bars.
How have they continued making Mario Party games? Like, this is a game that has made children bleed, and Nintendo had to send out free gloves, and they made like 14 of those freaking games.
What's crazy is in like 10 years, those gloves will be like $300 on eBay.
They
Rare, collectible.
the weird thing about that game too is you could put your bloody hand against the screen and you would get a star at the end. But if you landed on more green spaces, you still won. So screw Mario Party. It sucks.
Anyway,
Brian, remember
speaking
that
of-
time I beat you at Mario Party? Sorry.
Yes. If you had said, remember that time you won at Mario Party, then I'd be like, no, that's never happened. I'm good at that game, and you would never know because when you get to the finish line at the end, they're like, well, how many road signs can you remember? And you're like, what? And they're like, well, 5 stars to how tall are you? I hate that game.
okay. Well, great news
Anyway,
because there's
I'm
no
glad
Mario
the
Parties on
PSVR has-
PlayStation VR, and you can get a free dongle from Sony that you plug in. This is the thing that's annoying, is that you need this dongle as an adapter for the PlayStation VR camera, and the PlayStation VR is not compatible with the brand new camera that they just announced alongside the PS5. So like, and also like side note, if you have a launch PS4 or PSVR, there's some weird thing where like that doesn't play nice with 4K. So if you want to have 4K
Yeah.
gameplay, you need to do like a whole like switch pass through type of thing, or
Yeah.
just unplug it entirely.
It's very annoying. I can't use HDR when I have it. I have to do a whole lot of this.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, all the comments on this article as of me looking at it, let's see. Anybody getting the oops, something went wrong message? Yep, doesn't work for me either. Shaking my head. Yeah, I got it too. Tried the number. Thank you for calling PlayStation support. Due to unusual call volumes, we cannot take your call at this time. So it's going about as well as PS5 pre-orders, it sounds like. And I'm honestly, I think I might just not plug in my PSVR. I might just, I don't know, leave it.
You know what I'm going to do with that? I'm going to throw it into the sea like the octopus that it is. Like
It's a lot of wires.
The idea of putting another dongle on that thing, which is already like, it is. I just moved recently. That thing, and when it lives under your TV and you don't think about it, is one thing. But when you take that thing out and you really like, you give it a good look in 2020, this year of all
It's
years,
a lot of wires.
Oh my god,
It's a lot of wires.
Get back in the sea.
So yeah, if you want to try your hand at winning a special wire that will add on to the existing wires of the PSVR and hook it up to the PS5, that's a thing. Supposedly, maybe you just have to try your best at the website or the phone number. Here's something I didn't expect to say. Tiny Toons is getting an HBO Max reboot. They sent out a big announcement to say they're tiny, they're toony, they're back for a rebooty.
That doesn't rhyme. Come on,
No.
guys.
Rebooty.
You gotta say
yeah.
it in the cadence of the song.
I'm not doing that. I refuse.
Max, it's your job.
No.
They're tiny, they're toony, they're back for a rebooty.
Yay, Brian!
It does kind of work.
I got you.
Yeah, so it's called
rebooty
Tiny...
sounds like the name of a rap song.
So also I realized this. I was digging into to see how many other like 90s cartoon shows have been, reimagined or resurrected, or for lack of a better word, rebooted. But if you type in 90s cartoon rebooted, it just gives you stuff about Reboot, which got rebooted on Netflix. So I'm like, I don't want to learn about that bad CGI internet show. I'm sorry.
Rebooted?
Yeah, they made it was called like the Guardians or something
Oh.
web. They're in like an iPad now. I don't know. The internet is so much worse than when they made that show.
I mean, they're rebooting Animaniacs in like 2 weeks. And I saw some people were annoyed about that because we haven't seen most of like the sort of side characters from that. Like we've only seen a few. Like there was, do you remember that one character was like a chicken who thought he was a man?
Yeah, chicken.
I
What's
remember...
it? What's it called? Chicken.
I don't remember.
What are you doing?
Chicken Boo. Chicken Boo. That's it. That one.
This little kid and a dog that had to protect the little kid. That's
So yeah, that was what, like Rita and...
Oh yeah.
It was just Rain Man, but with the animals. What was it? Mindy was a little girl.
Mindy is the little girl's name.
Yeah, like there were a lot, and then there was the pigeons who were just good fellas.
Yes, yeah, the Italian
that was a weird
pigeons.
show.
Yeah.
So that was Animaniacs, which is that's coming to Hulu. The Tiny Toons Looniversity thing is weird because both of these were Steven Spielberg projects back in the 90s. Like Tiny Toon Adventures was kind of the first one. Then there was Animaniacs. Then there was, I think, Freakazoid, and then there was Historia. And it's, I don't know, it's weird because there's very clearly like a big separation between Tiny Toons and Animaniacs, but at the same time they're sort of doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Spielberg will be producing in some capacity, and I don't know, Animaniacs I'm into. I'm excited because that's like a weird kind of versatile thing, but like HBO Max already has a modernized Looney Tunes cartoon, which is great, and I don't know what you're going to do to, Looniversity to make it work, or like to change it up. So that's an odd one.
I'm into Tiny Toons though. Tiny Toons is great.
I think the hardest I laughed in second grade was that one where Plucky keeps talking about flushing that little boat down the toilet. You remember that? Like he kept flushing stuff down the toilet. Like it was like a flashback episode, and he was just talking about like being baby Plucky and flushing things in the toilet. And I was 6, so it was funny. We have 2 more. What?
Just talking to myself and putting people in YouTube chat in timeout for spam.
Oh, okay.
Stop it.
I remember they did one episode on Tiny Toons where like there was this like oil baron, like sort of like a geological villain man who would just basically would like chop down an entire forest just to make one elevator button. And like he just kept doing it. His whole factory was like just deforesting like entire parts of the planet and making like one single elevator button. And like the gang of children animals were like, we got to stop this guy. I don't know if I remember that.
Yeah. Was that Montana Max who was behind it all?
Most likely that little...
All right. 2 more stories here. This has been a bad week for Cyberpunk games getting delayed. Obviously, Cyberpunk 2077 got pushed a whopping 3 weeks. The Ascent is that really cool looking isometric Xbox Series X launch game, which is now getting pushed to 2021. This is obviously a much smaller team than... I think pretty much an indie title. Definitely smaller than the Cyberpunk 2077 team. So, they're going to take some time to work on it. But Yeah, that's the whole story. That's the news. I think they put out a new trailer that showed off a little bit of the gameplay. This game looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
Hey,
I'm
backtracking
into
to
it.
Tiny Toons, Kylie Tigglers has graced us with a direct quote from that episode you're talking about. Toilet paper go down the hole. That's
Oh, yeah.
that episode. And now
Oh,
it all came flooding
Yeah.
he's the
See, that's a
he's
funny. That's,
the baby Plucky, right? That was a
Yeah.
great character. Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway.
He just kept doing
Sorry.
toilet stuff. Those toilet stuff was pretty wild to see on TV back in the 90s. There
It
wasn't a lot of
kills. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a good
Still
one.
funny as hell. That's a funny place, the toilet.
Yeah, it sure is. And finally, here's the AMD announced 2 new graphics cards this morning. They had a whole thing, like a presentation where they showed graphs and graphics cards. And there's
Yeah.
the Radeon RX 6900, nice XT for $999, and then there's the Radeon RX 6800 XT, which is $649. Seth, you understand some of those words. What are these things?
Well, all you need to know is you go on the page, the AMD page for these new cards, and it says, and I quote, "These cards are architected for gamers." And they are
Really?
architected for the future. That is a real word
That's a
that
weird,
they
that's
use
a weird
not
one.
once, but twice. Architected. But I mean, it's just more graphics in there. They cram more graphics into the same little size. It's good for everybody. I'm glad to see AMD kind of sort of maybe coming back. I mean, they say that every time. Everyone's like, yeah, AMD's back. And then Nvidia's like, no, they're not. We've got these amazing cards that cost just as much and do more. So hopefully AMD can sort of get back to where they want to be. It's, they're claiming like the same performance as the higher end Nvidia cards for, like significantly less money. And
Oh,
you might even
interesting.
be able to buy them unlike the Nvidia
Right.
cards.
That seems like a big appeal because I know a lot of people are still trying to get that Nvidia one. Which
It's not gonna happen. They go so fast. I mean, like we weren't even able to tweet it out when they went up on Newegg and they were gone.
Damn.
Like just
Jeez.
instantaneous. Yeah, they went faster than the PlayStation 5 did.
Do you think that's still scalpers? Didn't they get busted for scalping their own?
No, that was
Cards?
MSI. One of their
That was MSI, right?
yeah, it was one of their like affiliates got busted for scalping their own cards. So they were just like buying them from themselves,
boy.
basically. Yeah. Not
Well,
great.
there you have it. That is a bunch of the biggest news stories of the day. This has been News, Games, and More. I'm Max Scoville. That's Brian Altano. That's Casey. That's Seth. I don't know how everyone's laid out here. If you want more of us in our respective different corners, you can catch Brian and Casey every week on Nintendo Voice Chat. Seth, you pop on there sometimes too, yeah?
Yeah, I do, as a matter of fact. It's quite fun.
That's a good. You guys do a good show over there. You talk about Nintendo.
Thanks, Max.
Talk about
Yeah.
Kirby, Mario, all sorts of stuff. You want more of me and Brian? We are on the weekly PlayStation show, Podcast Beyond. And tomorrow, right after this show, we'll be doing Up at Noon. We're going to be playing with some toys, having a good time, really just having a great time. And if you're looking for good deals on stuff, Seth is one of the people who's in charge of tracking down the best deals if you're trying to buy stuff. And he's regularly posting about it, not only on IGN's website, but also on the IGN Deals Twitter, which is, I think, funnier than the regular IGN Twitter.
Huh.
You can put that
I
on the
agree.
box if you ever sell a physical
Thank
copy
you.
of that Twitter account.
Putting that on my LinkedIn.
And huge thanks to our technical director, Marian, for running things behind the scenes there.
And also naming Animaniacs characters that we couldn't come up with
Yeah.
ourselves. That was a clutch move right there.
I hope there's no like hardcore like Animaniacs YouTuber who like clips out that bit. It's like
They're called
fake ass
Fanimaniacs.
IGN journalists can't name Animaniacs characters. Flames us or whatever.
You
Anyway.
call yourself a cartoon expert?
All right. Thank you everyone who watched and stuck with us. We will see you around. Have a wonderful evening or whatever time of whatever day it is over there. Goodbye.